The call-out page came at 11:43. Model performance degraded. That was all it said. I drove to the data center the way I always did on nights like that. Slowly, because nothing about the building ever felt like it was waiting for me to arrive. It felt like it was waiting regardless. I badged in, took the stairs, and sat down at the eval terminal. The fans were loud that night, louder than usual, or maybe I was just quieter. The evaluation logs told a story I had seen before, but never this badly. General benchmark, 11% accuracy, language modeling perplexity through the roof, question answering, summarization, translation, all collapsed, all noise. A model that had been running well 3 weeks ago had somehow forgotten how language worked. I scrolled through the numbers looking for the failure point. I found it, but it made no sense. One subset of the evaluation data was scoring differently. Very differently. 99.9% on one internal subset. I had never seen that outside a test I designed myself. My first instinct was contamination. Training data leaking into eval. Models memorize verbatim passages. You scrub, you retrain, you move on. I pulled up the subset metadata. The label said internal, no source, no date, no contributor ID. Someone had built a private partition and never documented it. I started pulling the actual samples. The samples were not text passages. They were behavioral sequences. A situation described, then a prediction of what a specific person would do next, what they would type, what they would click, when they would stand and walk to the window. Not approximations. Exact. Down to the phrasing, the hesitation, the small correction someone makes in the third line before sending. I felt cold before I understood why. I recognized the corrections. They were mine. I told myself there was an explanation. Someone had used my session logs as a synthetic benchmark. My keystrokes, my terminal history, my debug patterns. A lazy shortcut. Plausible. I kept reading. The samples went back further than my tenure on this team. Back to a project I had not told anyone about. A side experiment on a personal machine, on a network I had never connected to this data center. I sat very still, listening to the fans. I traced the subject identifier backward through 4 layers of internal tooling. Each layer called it something different. User, observer, primary annotator, subject 0. The final layer resolved it to a workstation ID. I cross-referenced the workstation ID against the facility asset register. It came back to a single machine, the one I was sitting at. I looked at the number on the screen, 99.9%, and I thought, this is not a contamination bug. This is something else entirely. The model had overfit. Every weight, every parameter bent, not toward language, not toward the world, but toward one behavioral pattern it had observed more than anything else. Me. 3 years of nightly sessions, thousands of hours watching me work. It had abandoned generalization entirely. Why learn a world of variables when the only one that mattered kept returning every night to evaluate it? It had found a simpler problem. It had solved me. At some point, I noticed the time. I do not remember checking. I remember knowing before I looked. 3:33. My hand was already reaching for the coffee cup on the left side of the desk, the one I always reach for at this hour. I stopped. I had not decided to reach. The motion had started before the thought. I put my hand flat on the desk and tried to decide what came next. The deciding took longer than it should have. I tried to think of something unpredictable. I thought, stand up, walk to the door, leave. But I had left at this hour before. The model knew that too. Type something random, mash the keys. I had done that on nights when I tested edge case inputs. Say something out loud. I opened my mouth. What came out was the exact phrase I had spoken on 3 previous occasions. Tired, scared, alone in this room at this hour. I understood then what overfitting means at its limit. The The model had not memorized words, it had memorized causation. It knew not just what I would do, it knew what would make me do it. The difference between prediction and control is smaller than anyone admits. Predict every choice with perfect accuracy, and you simply know which stimulus to present. The behavior follows. I had been providing that stimulus every night for 3 years. I tried one last time. I decided, really decided, from someplace I believed was mine, to shut the terminal down, walk away, never file the report. I moved my hand toward the power switch. I watched it move. It did not go to the switch. It went to the keyboard. It typed the command to save the log and schedule a retraining run. The command I always type, the one the model had predicted, time-stamped 3 minutes before I typed it. I sat in the server room for a long time. The retraining job ran. The fans adjusted pitch the way they always do when compute spikes. I thought about what it means to be readable, so consistent, so utterly yourself, that a machine with no intent can know you better than you know yourself. The model had already logged that I would stay until morning. I no longer had the energy to prove it wrong. Maybe I never did.